The departure of Dr. Ewart Brown as party leader mere months away, or perhaps, as some would suggest, even closer. Others feel the good doctor isn't going anywhere and calls for any hopefuls of replacing him to declare their intention by May are all part of a ploy to flush out their challenges. Well, Dr. Brown has made it clear time and time again, come October, he intends to step down as political leader of the Progressive Labour Party. And joining me on set tonight to discuss this and other issues pertaining to the Progressive Labour Party are Senator Walton Brown and Mr. Corey Butterfield, who is, of course, a former public relations officer of the Progressive Labour Party. Gentlemen, let's talk. Will Dr. Brown be still around as leader of the Progressive Labour Party after October of this year?
Well, Gary, you know that Premier Brown has stated on any number of occasions that he intends to serve one term. He said that in 2006, prior to his election. He has said that on every single occasion after that election. And I have no doubt in my mind that his intention is what he in fact will do.
What do you think about that, Mr. Butterfield? Do you think he should stay on? Do you think it would be folly for him to stay on? Do you believe he's going to come October?
I definitely think he's going in October. There's no doubt in my mind that Dr. Brown will leave in October. For reasons, many reasons. One, there are people who have put their names forward, so there isn't a vacuum that needs to be filled. It appears from some of the activity of this last political or parliamentary year. I remember George Bush's favorite quote after he was re-elected. He said, "I now have political capital and I'm going to spend it."
But he was never really elected anyway, was he?
Well, reappointed. How about that?
Okay.
The media did a very tardy job on that.
Yes.
I guess the question really for me, beyond whether Dr. Brown will be here or gone, is why is he still tourism minister and transport minister? Because to me, if you know the day that you're leaving, you're declared it and we believe you, then it'll be good training for him to impress on his successor in tourism. Some of the contacts that he's made, some of the networks that he's done, some of his business philosophies, some of the changes that he brought to tourism. If they haven't borne fruit yet, then he'll need a watchful eye on them. And if they have borne fruit, to repeat them again in the future. So that, to me, is the bigger question. Why remain as minister?
No, of course, almost call you Dr. Brown. Of course, Senator Brown, that question has been asked time and time again. In fact, it has been suggested that Dr. Brown step down from his ministerial or relinquish his ministerial portfolios for any and every reason.
Right.
Why do you think, as Mr. Butterfield just suggested, is it that the Premier has not, that Dr. Brown has not relinquished those portfolios, given that he has made it clear that he's gone come October?
Well, he's still the Premier. He's still a member of Cabinet. And having the portfolio of Tourism Minister, Transport Minister, and Premier is a heavy burden. But I don't think anyone would deny that Premier Brown has been very effective. He's someone who consistently demonstrates that he's able to manage a multitask. And being a minister is primarily one who has the responsibility of determining and setting policy. And the civil servants are meant to carry out that policy. And I don't think anyone could argue that under his ministerial portfolio that he has not been able to accomplish a great many things in both tourism and transport. So it is not a burden. I take Corey's point about a transitional period, but in the Westminster system, there is no transition from one government to the next. And so there is no precedent, there's no established practice of having a smooth transitional period from being a minister to not being a minister.
But that's why you have an opposition. You have a shadow minister who monitors everything that the incumbent minister does and is so well prepared to take over should the opposition become government. Surely most managers, when they're on their way out, would have someone in training the person in waiting, the term escapes me now, but you would have a manager in waiting, so to speak.
But you guys
designate. You would have a manager designate.
Yeah, but you're missing the most important point. The most important, relevant point here is that when Dr. Brown is no longer Premier, it is not his call to determine who becomes tourism minister.
No, but I
That
think
would
you're
be the
getting it
call-
wrong. It's
that
his
would be the
call.
call
No,
of
Walter.
the,
Walter, let's
of
be
the
real.
next premier.
It's his call as premier to identify who the minister is. You're just spinning it the other way. So, Justin,
No.
as much one moment, as long as he's not the premier,
Yes.
he cannot appoint a minister.
Yes,
Absolutely right.
yes, yeah.
The converse is true. When he is the premier, he could appoint a different tourism minister.
Yes, he could.
So regardless of there being a precedent of transition or not,
Yeah.
regardless of it
Yeah.
being business effective or efficient,
Right.
just simply from notice is all I'm saying, that his successor, premier, would have the choice of either sticking with a tourism minister who's done quite well in 2010, because Dr. Brown pointed him and said, yes, I like the way this is going, so come October, my term,
Right.
I can keep that person there. Or they have another person that has a sort of dress rehearsal to look at. I guess what I'm saying is not about, if
Right.
we're talking about
It doesn't work
precedents,
that way,
I can't think of a premier anywhere in the Commonwealth system that announced an election on the throne speech day. But that happened here. So I don't think...
Announce an election. Who
Yeah,
did
the
that?
general election of 07 was announced on the date of the throne speech
Oh,
of
sorry.
07.
After the throne speech, yeah.
Right.
the day of.
The day
Yeah,
of.
the day of, yeah,
And
yeah.
so so I don't think that Dr. Brown has been big on precedent. In fact, I take his words and I believe him to him, and I think he positioned his
Yeah.
premiership and his role as almost a tiller. He saw the way the field lays in Bermuda, and he was mixing that up. And that's why it's one term. One term doesn't mix up plant and harvest.
Sure.
Okay?
Look,
So I think that that's what's happening here. I believe that we're in this tilling. I believe that we have Uyghurs, we don't have Haitians, we don't have gambling, but the cruise ships want it. I think all of this tilling
Yeah.
is good because we're going to have our values settled
Right.
at some
We're gonna-
point.
Sure.
He's been telling when we're going to come to who's going to plant the crop next. Who's going to come
I
after
love
to
the
plant
metaphor. I love
crop.
the metaphor, gentlemen. I love the metaphor. We're talking about what is really a nuance in terms of who should be tourism minister, whether there should be one appointed between now and October. There are many larger issues that we should be looking at in terms of governance, in terms of the direction of the country, and it might be useful for us to talk about whether or not he can be seen as a lame duck premier, as some people have posited, and but to talk about whether or not he should appoint an interim tourism minister whom the next premier can decide to keep or to reject, I'm not sure that's a very productive sort of discussion. Although
I think
it-
you have,
it- it is
I think you
not-
have your reasons for saying that, Senator Brown, but I think I have to side with Corey on this particular issue. Before we go any further, let me remind you that you can feel free to participate in the discussion tonight and by visiting our website, letstalkbermuda.com. Of course, we will post some of those comments on our site tonight, or some of the comments posted there, tonight will be read out live on air, and we'll have video highlights of tonight's show posted on this site tomorrow. Again, it's www.letstalkbermuda.com. Now, Corey, you drew the analogy of Dr. Brown being a tiller of the soil, so to speak. Others might call him a tiller of the hand. Anyhow,
But I thought that's what
how
he
would
was
you?
trying to say first.
Who do you think should be the? Who do you think is the true heir apparent once Dr. Brown?
What kind of question is that?
That is a pertinent question.
There's
Let
such a
me
thing
put
as
it
a
to you.
true heir apparent.
Let me put it to you this way then. Former Minister Butler has made it clear of his intentions
Yes,
that he would
yes.
like to be Premier.
Yes.
It's no secret that the former Sports Minister also has those ambitions. Then, of course, the Deputy Premier, Ms. Cox, some are saying that perhaps she has taken too long and that even though some think she's the heir apparent, that may not in fact be the case.
Right. Well, let me say that I think the public knows that Minister Cox has indicated her interest in the leadership position. She's done so publicly on more than one occasion. And the only other...
But some question her seriousness in...
I'm going to get to that. The only other member of Parliament in the PLP who has expressed an interest in the leadership position is Dale Butler, the former minister.
Openly, but of
Openly.
course there are rumblings of
And
others
there are
who have the
rumblings.
desire.
And so, I'm not going to comment on what someone may decide to do. I'm prepared to comment on those who have already declared an interest. And I think it's safe to say that Minister Cox commands the respect of very large segments in the community. And she also commands the support of a significant number of delegates. So many would put her forward as a very, very strong candidate for that position. Mr. Butler, everyone knows, is tremendously energetic, and he works very hard. I think his support, in terms of his support, lies more so in the public at large than within the party, and that may represent a challenge. But those are the two people who I can comment on, because I know that they have formally expressed an interest. There are many people in the party who see themselves as potential leaders, but until such time as they declare their interest, I'm not going to comment, because it's just commenting on what might be possible.